the reason we delayed the release of the record was a decision that was made by us and the record company. Because by the time we finished it, it was, I don't know, late summer of '99. We got back from LA. And we decided, the original intention was to release it late '99. But it kind of became evident to us that if we did that, it would get lost in all the kind of craziness that was around in late '99. For example, it's like everybody was releasing, the best of, the best millennium music, even though it's only music from the last 5 years, and Christmas songs and all sorts, Everybody was out. George Michael was releasing records, Cliff was releasing records, everybody was releasing records. And it was coming to an end of obviously a year, and because of the millennium, I think there was a great feeling that obviously you were coming to the end of a decade and the end of a millennium, and we didn't want the record to kind of be lost in all that, and we also didn't want it to be released at the end of something. This was a debut album, this was our first album, and it was something very new, something very fresh, and we felt that it would be better to release it, in a new year. So we released I'm Doing Fine as a single in around October, instead of the album, and then kind of and held on till early 2000 to release the record, and it was also about getting people to know something about us, know where we're coming from, know our music, and to kind of become familiar with us a little bit, to introduce ourselves a little bit. And I think we made the right decision, because, like you said, in 2000 we released the record, and although people were awaiting it for a while, I think it was received well, and it's just been it's been good because we got to tour before the record was out. We got to play all around Europe before the record was out, and again that became important as well because it was our first album, because it was something new. It was about taking it to the people,
Don't you think that the public was surprised and pleased to discover the mix between pop songs and trip hop that could explain the success of this album?
I think, I suppose with Bristol, people have for a long time, I suppose Massive Attack pioneered the sound really, which became trip hop, and for a long time there was a lot of copycat stuff going on, and I think people kind of related to trip hop as a genre of music, and we're kind of expecting day one to fall into that category. And when they heard the album and they heard, like you say, the songs, it was something different. I think that kind of surprised people, especially here in France. We found the reception for the album has been amazing for both of us, so it's really cool.
Yeah, there was a good press in France. Your cultural background, your musical background is very surprising. I read that you listen to hip hop, to jazz, to rock, to folk music. It seems that all the influences of the past are coming together now at the end of the decade.
I believe that, yeah. I think that that's quite reflective of the time now. I think that because there's been so many underground musics that have become mainstream now, that have become, for example, hip hop was, took 20 years to become what is now probably the biggest selling kind of music in the world. Same with dance music, same with all that. And I think what that has done is kind of break down the kind of barriers and the kind of the categorizing that used to go on and was much more defined in the past. When you had your rock acts and you had your kids that were into rock music, and you had your kids that were into hip hop, and you had your kids that were into punk or whatever, and it was very much, they stuck within their own kind of music, and they would when I was younger, when I first started, I was lucky because I had music all around me from when I was a kid. I had live music, I had my father playing folk music, so I appreciated music in that way. But when I went out and kind of found my own music, as you do when you kind of hit your teens, the first music I got into was hip hop, because there's such a big hip hop scene in Bristol, and that's everybody was doing that, and I was loyal to when you're that age, you're loyal to the point of the music you listen to the point of being narrow-minded, you know, and you dismiss all other things, and I think now, and as you grow older, you realize that a good song is a good song, good music is good music, no matter what, yeah, no matter what style that happens to be, and I think that audiences now and listeners now are much more open-minded and much more grown up in the way they listen to music and much more appreciative of a wide range of music. The people you find playing now together varies widely. You know, the different people that we've played with, you know, not just at festivals, but in gigs and shows all around Europe and the UK, has been, it just varies much more, and it's great that people can go and watch, two acts that are completely different, or they can go to a festival and the bills are just completely, every band is doing something very different, and that can only be a good thing for music.
A question to Donny. I think you like especially a song from Nick Drake, the Cello song. I read that. I love that song. Could you tell us about the song and why you like especially that song?
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, my father, when I was young, sort of got me into Nick Drake and John Martin and Bertie Jansch and sort of stuff, like folk music like that. And the cello song for me and Nick Drake for me is kind of, he was such a fragile artist, and it's like these days it's people kind of maybe singing melancholy songs and things like that are kind of, I don't know, it's just not the same. What he did, he just seemed to be really pure, and the music he made, you listen to it now and it's honest and it's pure, and God bless him, rest in peace.
Could you make a cover of one Nick Drake song? Could it be possible?
I think it's me and Brennan like talked about covers and stuff. And
we always joke about covers. What if we were going to do a cover? I mean, we did.
I think it's kind of in our influences, and I think he's part of an influence, which is kind of, instead of taking something, it's kind of listening to a lot of things, and in that melting pot is kind of what occurs. So